Good evening, sci-fi movie nerds, and welcome to episode 18 of the weekly show. I am the sci-fi movie guy. My name is Mike, and let's get started as we always do with Star Wars news. So our first story today is StarWarsNews.net has revealed the new Rogue One Lego sets that will be available for purchase on September 30th, 2016. For $24.99, once an Imperial security droid, K2SO is now ready to fight for the Rebel Alliance. Build the droid, then push the button to side to swing each arm, or push it straight to swing both at the same time. The powerful K2SO has the strength and skill to take on the Empire. For $89.99, when a tough transport ship is needed, Krennic's Imperial shuttle is the perfect choice. Put him into the pilot seat, open out the thick armor plating, and seat the Death Troopers. Lower the ramp and check that the blasters are secured, then arm the spring-loaded shooters and seal the hull for takeoff. Raise the landing skids, lower the rings for flight mode, and set off on another dangerous mission. For $79.99, open the cockpit and place the U-wing pilot in his seat. Fire up the engines and launch into the sky. Keep a lookout below with the transparent window, and when you spot the enemy, fire the front spring-loaded shooters and stud shooters mounted on the side doors. You can even fold the wings back for a bigger model. For $69.99, prepare for launch with the amazing TIE Striker, the Empire's atmospheric patrol fighter. Open the minifigure cockpit from the top or front and put in the TIE pilot. Help the Imperial ground crew members put supplies in the rear hold and arm the spring-loaded shooters. And for $39.99, go on the hunt for Baze and the Rebel troopers aboard the all-terrain scout transport. Open the top hatch, load up the AT-ST driver, and move the legs to speed into action. When you've tracked them down, turn the wheel and rotate the top and prepare to fire the spring-loaded shooters. And there are even more toys coming out from the LEGO Star Wars set, and you can check them all out at StarWarsNews.net. Now, if that sounded like a commercial, I want you to know I am not getting paid by LEGO to show you these toys. I'm showing you these toys because I am so freaking excited to actually go out and buy some of these LEGO toys and give them to my nephew and my buddy Gil's kids, because these are just phenomenal. They're going to make great Christmas gifts, and I'm just really excited because I used to play with Lego when I was a kid, but never this kind of Lego. So yeah, check out the Lego. StarWarsNews.net had this story, and I wanted to show you some of the cool pictures. So our next story is more Episode 8 news that could set the stage for Episode 9. Mark Hamill took to social media in order to shave off his beard as he prepares for his next project. What was interesting, however, is what he said. Hamill told the audience how happy he is to be losing the Jedi beard and won't miss it. Until Episode 9, that is. Did Hamill just confirm that his Luke Skywalker character will live to fight another day in Episode 9? Or what if he dies and comes back as a Force ghost? Luke could become one with the Force in Episode 8, and that would mean his beard would be there if he were to make an appearance in Episode 9. So, this is really cool, but I think we all knew that in some form or another Luke is going to be in all three movies, especially considering the fact that he was barely in Episode 7. It's always been the Skywalker story. We had to wait, 30 years to see Luke again, so we knew he was going to be in it. Now, my guess is that he's not going to die in Episode 8. I think he is going to be in Episode 9. That's where the big fight is going to be with Luke. And I think he might die in Episode 9. As far as Princess Leia goes, I think she's dying for sure in Episode 8. But I think Mark Hamill is not going to be a Force ghost until the very end of Episode 9. He'll die near the end of Episode 9. And then you'll see all the Force ghosts together at the end of Episode 9. You'll see Anakin, Yoda, Ben Kenobi, Luke. You'll see all the Force ghosts lined up and, kind of telling Rey everything's going to be okay. So that's my prediction for Episode 8 and 9, but I thought it was cool. Mark Hamill is so great on Twitter. You guys have to check him out if you're not. It's at Hamill himself. And yeah, check out Mark Hamill on Twitter. So our next story in Star Wars news is yesterday Lucasfilm debuted the newest droid to join the Star Wars universe, C2B5, during an episode of the Star Wars show. The astromech will debut in Rogue One, a Star Wars story, and he works for the Empire. Although it looks like the evil doppelganger of R2-D2 is not exactly the same class of droid, but there are some remarkable similarities. Unlike R2, C2B5 doesn't have the same luxuries as Star Wars' most famous astromech. C2B5, for example, is mostly in charge of ensuring that the machinery that powers the Imperial Army is working and kept up to date, maintenance-wise, so that evil plans can be carried out without a mechanical fail. Now, I love this picture. I think he's going to make a great toy. Again, Star Wars is brilliant at making toys that kids want to buy and geek adults like me. But I really like the fact that he looks like an evil R2-D2. It's pretty cool. So I can't wait to see if this droid's going to have a really minor part in Rogue One or if he's going to be a big part. I highly doubt it's a big part. He might just be doing some fixing during one of the war scenes. And you know what? That's cool. I love this stuff coming out of Rogue One. They're releasing a lot more than they did than The Force Awakens. And I'm just getting more and more excited to see Rogue One. I'm almost, like I said, I think that this will be my most anticipated Star Wars, even more than when I was anticipating The Force Awakens. So our next story in Star Wars news is it sounds like there may be plans to show us the same flashback sequence in Star Wars Episode 8 as Rey had in The Force Awakens, but to include more details. Specifically, it appears that there may be a scene that shows us more of what happened to Luke Skywalker at his Jedi school that led him to disappear. According to Making Star Wars, the word is there's a scene in the new film that includes Luke, Kylo Ren, R2-D2, and Rey, along with several adolescent kids who are apparently the dead Padawans that Kylo and the Knights of Ren look to have taken down. The fact that an adult Rey is in the scene, but that she doesn't appear to interact with the scene at all, indicates that this is more of her vision as we saw in Star Wars The Force Awakens. In addition to potentially answering some questions about what happened to Ben Solo that made him Kylo Ren, as well as letting us know more about Luke's time between the trilogies, it's also possible that this second vision may actually explain why the first vision happened at all. Whatever induces the second vision could help explain why they're happening to Rey in the first place. Now, Rey's Force vision was very, very quick in the movie. And I know that there was more taped for that vision, but it got on the cutting room floor. And I think they're probably going to use some of that footage to make this another Force vision in Episode 8. And I think it's going to give us more clues as to Rey's background. But again, I think Episode 8, we aren't going to learn a whole lot about Rey. We're just going to see her in action with Luke. And then we're going to find out the whole story in Episode 9. At least I hope that's how it is, because in a trilogy, you know what? If you have a third movie, that's where you should save the big reveals for, so that we'll have more fun after Episode 8 talking about what's going to happen in Episode 9. So that's my hope. I know a lot of people are like, oh no, I need to know everything right now, but I like the suspense. And our last story in Star Wars news is... this story is coming out of courtesy of the Star Wars Theory YouTube channel, which says a script leak from Episode 8 has a pivotal scene in which Luke comes face to face with the evil Supreme Leader Snoke, the new villain introduced in last year's blockbuster The Force Awakens. Although to the channel, Snoke implies he met Vader at one point and adds, "After all, what father doesn't want to see his own creation?" Could this mean that Snoke is so powerful with the Force that he was able to make Anakin's mother pregnant with a Force baby, or does he mean that he was behind the scenes helping Anakin turn into Darth Vader, making him Vader's so-called creator? Now take this with a grain of salt. I believe that this story actually came from Reddit, and we all know Reddit could just be some guy sitting in his basement going, "Oh, you know what? This is a great story." But I don't think this is true. Take it for what you want. Again, potential spoiler, highly doubtful though. I think Snoke is going to be revealed as someone completely different and definitely not Darth Vader's father or Luke's grandfather. And that's it for Star Wars news. Now we're going to get into sci-fi news, and our first story in sci-fi news is Ben Affleck revealed on Monday a 27-second behind-the-scenes shot of what looks like Deathstroke slowly walking down a ramp. With smoke blast and a head turn, is he the main villain in Batman? We're not sure if he'll make an appearance in a post-credit scene in Justice League, but it looks like the main villain for Batman could be Deathstroke. Now, I'm cool with this because Deathstroke is also a human, no special superpowers, just like Batman has no special superpowers. And I think it would be incredible to see this fight and Deathstroke. If you've been watching Arrow, the television show, they had Deathstroke in that show, and it was a really cool character. Slade Wilson was Deathstroke, but I don't think that's how they'll play it in the movie. Now, I'm also hearing that Deathstroke may have been hired by the Joker to go out and try to kill Batman. So we still may get the Joker, or at least a little bit of the Joker, in the Batman standalone film. I definitely think we're going to see a little bit of the Joker in the Justice League movie, but again, I don't think he's going to be the main villain quite yet. I think they're saving that, and they're going to do some more villains in the first Batman movie, maybe 2, 3, or 4 villains even, but Deathstroke might be one of them. And then the Joker will be saved for maybe the second Batman movie. So it's cool that we're seeing Deathstroke. It's a really cool character, and I do hope that he's one of the main villains for the standalone Batman movie. So our next story in sci-fi news is Deadpool was a massive hit for 20th Century Fox and Ryan Reynolds. But when the film was in development, it was far from a sure thing. Apparently, the budget was so low that there was no room to have writers on the set during production, so Reynolds took matter into his own hands. Speaking on AMC's Geeking Out via Slash Film, screenwriters Rhett Reese and Paul Wernick revealed that Reynolds paid to have them on set out of his own pocket. Now, in hindsight, the studio had no idea that this was going to be so good, but in hindsight, they could have easily afforded to have some writers on the set to do some rewrites if something's not going right. But Reynolds believed in this so much that he said, no, I have to pay these writers out of my own pocket. They're going to be there. We're going to make this movie awesome. And now Reynolds can write his own ticket because Deadpool did so well. Deadpool 2 is going to do even better. So Reynolds was very smart. Kudos to him for making sure that he had what he needed on this movie to make it a success moving forward. So our next sci-fi movie, actually our next sci-fi clip is 2 new clips have been released for Denis Villeneuve's Sicario follow-up, Arrival. The first shows Amy Adams, Louise Banks, inside the spacecraft with a team that also includes Jeremy Renner, Ian Donnelly. And the second shows the team's entrance into the alien craft, which seems to have its own ideas about gravity. Arrival also stars Forrest Whitaker and opens in theaters on November 11th. The movie premise is when a mysterious spacecraft touches down on Earth, an elite team led by expert linguist Louise Banks, played by Amy Adams, are brought together to investigate. Now, I told you in a previous show that I saw the trailer for this, and I think it's going to be a good movie for sure, but how many times are we going to see aliens land on Earth? And let's just hope that the aliens don't turn out to be big bad guys and there's a big fight. I would love to see a twist on this movie because Amy Adams is trying to communicate with them in the trailer, and she's a linguist, and she's trying to figure out their language. And let's hope that there's some cool plot twist in there where they're here to help humanity, or maybe humanity needs to help them. But I hope it's not just another shoot 'em up alien movie like Independence Day 2, Independence Day 1, because that is just, we've seen enough of that. We don't need to see any more. Let's hope that they're doing a really great twist in an alien film. And our last sci-fi story today is at the end of Captain America Civil War, Cap gives up his shield, breaks his fellow vigilantes out of prison, and goes into hiding in Wakanda. Being a fugitive is odd for Captain America, but it makes a lot more sense if you accept the fact that Steve Rogers is no longer Captain America. When promoting the Blu-ray release for Captain America Civil War, directors Joe and Anthony Russo did confirm to the Huffington Post that when Cap dropped his shield at the end of the movie, it was a symbol for him giving up his superhero mantle. And this makes perfect sense. You know, at the end of Civil War, he drops the shield, he's taking off, and he's saying, I'm done being a superhero. You guys, the Avengers, you guys go ahead and do what you do. Now, will it stay like that? No, it won't. In the Infinity Wars, we're probably going to see the Avengers fighting something that they just can't control, and then Captain America is going to see it on the news, or Tony Stark's going to call him and say, Cap, we need your help. Something's going to happen to bring him back. And I'm sure in Wakanda, he's got tons of vibranium, which is the metal that the Captain America's shield is made out of. So he's going to be able to make another one while he's there, because there's lots of that metal there. And I know we're going to see, like, I'd bet money on it, that we're going to see Captain America come back. But in the beginning of the film, he'll probably be in retirement, ignoring what the Avengers are doing. But we'll see Captain America come back. So thanks everybody for watching weekly show number 18. If you want, you can send me an email. I'm movieguySci-fi@gmail.com, or you can follow me on Twitter @movieguySci-fi. And just remember, everybody, nerds rule the world.